Was that a real clap, Josh, or was that a mouth clap?
It was both, but the clip is perfect for you.
Well, how's it going, dude?
Good, and it's just, yep. There we go. It's another week. Sometimes
it's a week. Canada continues to be like minus 9,000 degrees, right?
Yeah, it's the temperature where everyone on the internet that lives in your city or around you is uploading those fucking videos of throwing water in the air and then it turning to vapor and stuff because it's so cold. So yeah everyone's doing that. I'm like, I'll just watch your videos. I'm not going to do it.
Yeah, that seems like a lot of work. By the way, I am Rod. This is Josh.
Hi.
We are the Murder Moose podcast. We are part of the Slash and Cast podcast network. And I've been talking to people from the network to get more people to come do guest spots. So there maybe we'll have some more people coming up, and I'm going out and venturing out and doing a Andy and Brian are doing they are rating for their Patreons or their ranking episode of the month. They are ranking all the Alien and Predator movies.
Oh, nice.
And so I put together my list for Andy today, and I'm like, there's a lot of these movies in the middle that are just kind of interchangeable, but like...
See, but I'm a huge fan of Alien versus Predator and how cheeseball... Like, they handed the keys to someone like me to like a big franchise, and I was so excited about Alien versus Predator because it was so bad, and it was so bad, but it was also stomping all over like big franchises, like huge ones, but in a fun, campy way that I think Alien versus Predator should it could have really been handled a lot better, but I still I was dumbfounded by it, and that's like a fan. I'm like a fan of it because of how just ridiculous it is.
Dude, that movie, I thought when I first saw it, kind of thought it was bad, and then kind of realized the movie might be bad, but it's fun. But then it doesn't compare in bad to its sequel, which
the sequel's
is
worst.
One of the worst movies I've ever seen. Because if you've never seen Alien vs. Predator Requiem, I have never seen a darker shot movie ever. It is literally the worst lighted movie I've ever seen, which is a real shitty time for something like that. And it's just like, it was so bad. And it was, it was, that was actually on my entire, there's 12 of those movies. My worst movie out of all 12 of them was Alien versus Predator Requiem.
I used a Predator mouth for the alternate poster I did for last week's episode, Psycho Gorman, like the mouth thing, because I think of all the posters that we saw, for Psycho Gorman, because honestly, that's still the benchmark is set now for this show, for my love of movies, for it doesn't matter, everything is fucking downhill from here now. The best movie has been viewed, and nothing else fucking matters now. So,
well, dude, the Psycho Gorman people are like following us on Twitter and stuff like that.
Yeah, they all followed. One of the actors followed me
after the poster.
Man, I love them.
I was like, this is pretty cool. Yeah, it was. I hope some of them listened to it because that episode was a lot of fun, and it was.
Oh yeah, the writer of the movie retweeted my the post of murdermoose.com and stuff, so he went and checked it out.
Yeah. Hopefully. Yeah, dude. I mean, that movie again. It deserves the love it gets because
it's.
I saw that
it's trending on Amazon and stuff, #1.
Well, dude, they have the. I don't know if you saw it. They have the Hunky Boy edition of the Blu-ray, which I would have bought, but it was like $35 or something like that, and it comes with trading cards.
They added me to their Hunky Boys list on Twitter.
Oh, did they? Yeah. You're a hunky boy, Josh.
I'm officially a hunk boy. Woo!
You've been officially made a hunky boy by the people who made Hunky Boys. Oh my god,
dude! Like I said, the
Josh
bar has been, It's all downhill from here, man. It's all fucking downhill.
Yeah, it is. Well, I mean, dude, it's cool that like I really appreciate when these like smaller movies go out of their way to like, because I'm not saying we're helping, we're gonna make their movie big, but it's cool that they see people like producing content about their movie and then like go out of their way to give us spotlight, right? And that's cool, and it's appreciated because it means that they know that we're enjoying what they're doing and are sharing the message of their movie.
But if any team is gonna understand the everything, it's gonna be them. Because they just made a masterpiece and understand the subgenre of like punk like horror so much that it's just it's a master. It's everything that I've grown up being like born in the 80s and being like a 90s kid, like that 90s like ultra cheeseball like Japanese style, like it's everything I ever wanted in a movie, and we're not even talking about it this week and I'm still talking about it. Okay.
Yeah, it's true. We are talking about a cool South African movie this week, though. This movie was, although it's not as good as Psycho Gorman, I had
nothing will ever compare.
I had issues with the pacing of the movie a little bit. Like it feels like the pacing of it feels weird, but overall, we talk about 2019's Soul Collector, which is an African. It's what you call it, a fairy tale, like
it's a voodoo.
It's kind of like Guillermo. Yeah, I know, but the way it's told, it's very like fairy tale-y and like
there was a whimsicalness to it for sure. Like, because
like Pan's Labyrinth kind of thing. Like it's kind of like that, where it's like this.
But it's
telling a story.
Yeah, I really overly appreciated that they did it in that artsy way. Like they took a really like out there like storyline and then attached it to a very artistic way of telling us the story like this, right? But like you said, the pacing did, and the movie isn't that long, but I ended up looking at the clock a few times, and it's because of the random use of fades to black when they shouldn't have, and stuff like that was just like really made this movie feel more indie than it needed to feel. If it was just tightened up the tiniest bit, this movie would have been fantastic. Like it still was a really good movie, but there was the downfalls that this movie had made it feel indie. Like some of the over lighting and stuff, it felt like it was way overlit for like a lot of the scenes and stuff, and it made them seem overly fake, and you can see through the acting way more because these situations would not have been this over like 3-point lit, like even outside and stuff. And the bounce from, I'm like, you don't need to bounce anything. Like why is it like it's so distracting? You can see the bounce in their face. Like what the hell?
Well, that, and they like, the movie doesn't have much CGI, but there's a couple times they use CGI and I'm like, why did you do this? Like the opening scene of the movie has CGI in it that I'm like, why did you do, like it was the whole like trying to be creepy when it doesn't. And it's funny because like you're saying,
the creepiest part of it was when they showed little to no of the daughter and the dark creepy figure, which like it reminded me of my irrational fears like on my YouTube channel. Like that is the thing that literally scared me when done right, in the right hands. That figure is the scariest thing, like Lights Out done so the shadowy creepy like, but that's where Pony Smasher, he knows what's creepy, and like he's like a master of horror. He understands it and why things scare people.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, what I really, really enjoyed about this movie is it has atmosphere wise. This movie is
Oh,
creepy as shit the
yes.
entire way through.
Like
Like it's
for me though, like voodoo movies never overly scared me, and like this setting, I think even scared me less because I personally will never be in that situation or that setting. So
yeah,
it keeps me personally and my mind at like an ease the entire movie because
yeah,
it will never happen to me. So I can't personally
yeah,
be affected mentally by it. So
yeah.
I'm not. This isn't a horror movie
So
to me whatsoever. It's like a nice, like almost love story
that's why I said
between the like
fairy tale
fairy
is
tale,
it?
yeah, with
Yeah.
like the missing his daughter and like it's
Well,
profound, but like
yeah.
the storyline. But it's
That's it.
I don't know, man, not too horror. Like I was kind of surprised this is on Shudder.
So the thing that with it is, and I think this, one of the things I appreciate with doing this podcast is that it is, again, it's a South African movie, so there are definite tones of the British that are living there in South Africa, and this movie takes place in 1977.
Oh, does it?
And what? Yeah.
Oh, I missed that fucking plot point completely, man.
So that was,
But
it wasn't even a plot. They stated it like at the beginning when when they were doing they were doing the like the Shining thing where they're like driving to their
I
new
kind
place
of
kind of
like
thing.
I missed that, but I kind of assumed it was kind of back in the time a little bit. But
Yeah.
yeah, I wish I full on knew that.
Yeah. Well, it's because I think it is a lot, and this is a thing that I think it's harder, not impossible, but harder for like people like you and I who aren't from South Africa because
Well, it just says
South
horror
Africa.
on IMDb. There's no other
Yeah.
subgenre of the, and it's kind of hard for
Yeah.
me, man. But I never really, I don't know, man. I just think because of the time period that and the influences that brought me into horror, horror to me
Yeah.
is like something you're scared of or something horrific. And there was not
Yeah.
very much horrific in this, but I
Yeah.
guess
It's
if you're light
again,
on horror,
it's
this could be construed as horror. Yeah.
it's very it's a
I guess there
it's
is
a
blood
atmosphere
and stuff,
movie.
but yeah,
Yeah.
I'm just so desensitized.
It's an atmosphere movie more than it is a pure like I'm gonna shit my pants.
Well,
It's
I guess
there was
never
some
mind. Like, yeah, the mother character does get tormented like hell, and there is that creepy scene in
Yeah.
the bathtub. Like, that is actual.
Yeah.
Okay, never mind. I take it back. This is actually horror. I'm just. I think.
I think it's again I think comparing this movie to Pan's Labyrinth is something that is I don't think this movie is as good as Pan's Labyrinth. That's not what I'm
I
saying.
just wish
It's that
the dad character was a better actor. Like everyone else around
Yeah.
him was way better than him, and they relied on
Yeah.
him a lot in the movie, and he just
Yeah.
wasn't that good. Everyone else though, like the daughter was amazing. The mom
Yeah.
was just a bitch to everyone. So like you felt like, oh no, she's gonna get it and
Dude.
she's gonna deserve it
Yeah.
because she's being mean to everyone. But then
yeah.
you really start to feel for her character in the end
Yeah.
because you're like, holy fuck, she's getting messed with really good here.
Well, do that and Lazarus is like Lazarus is the
Master
villain, but
manipulator.
it's yeah.
He's got like that
But it's
milky
this-
smooth voice too, though. Like that, you just
Oh,
you
yeah.
can't not trust him. He's just like
Yeah.
got the best voice.
It's kind of like the Pied Piper, right? Like he uses like not a flute, but he's got that real like smooth delivery to like
Oh yeah,
and it's
you can trust.
and then you
me.
figure
Come
out-
over here now. But South Africans have the best accent in like the world. to me.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's always
Yeah.
so nice.
well the thing is too with that character is Lazarus is he's a tragic character throughout this whole movie, and as you figure out what's going on, it's like they set him up as the boogeyman, and you learn a lot about what he is and where why he's in this situation, why he's doing what he's doing, and you go, oh fuck, and
You really.
I'm sorry,
feel
like,
for
it's-
him a lot.
yeah, it also reminds me of like it feels like they go to this like I'm seeing it more as I'm seeing more like black horror coming out, like things like Us and like things like
I loved the
things like Lovecraft Country,
the voodoo
where it's
is so good in this though. Like
Yeah.
Of voodoo stuff.
Yeah, it's
like the things they chose to show for voodoo, like I don't know, like
yeah.
tropes and stuff. I liked what they chose, and like
Well,
his
it's
song too before he's coming out. I'm like, oh no,
yeah.
you're gonna die because it's like, I'm like,
Yeah.
I was like
Well,
getting
dude,
down to his grooves, man.
It feels like to me it's a very, very like Christian. It's
Yeah.
like this is like South African like the exorcism or like the exorcist or something like that. It's like it's this thing where it's taking this like tribal culture of like the people who are like, you know, from this country, and then you're overlaying it with demons and possession and souls.
Everything
and
that I was afraid of, like when you first said, hey, let's check this movie out, all those things that I just brought up that I normally feel about like voodoo movies in general and blah blah, and they're not feeling like horror. I ended up liking all of that stuff so much about this movie, and but that's why I have to like almost classify it in my head that it's like in a different spot, because all that stuff wasn't overly the horror aspects of this movie, and it was good storytelling in the end.
Yeah. Oh, dude, the bag that there's a bag in this movie that is it's this creepiest bag you will ever see, and it is.
But they
very again
like the visuals that they can show with it. It's really good. Like the eyes coming out and like just it's the less is more thing.
Yeah. Oh, dude, the trailer uses that like as a real, and I don't know if that. It's such a high point in the movie, right? That like I understand why the trailer uses it. They use the trailer. The trailer uses it as this. Yeah, well, the trailer has the like eyes peeking out of the bag at some point, you know, and you're like, "What the fuck is this?" Like because you don't know contextually, and it's enough that you go, you're like, "What the fuck?" And that was like one of the reasons why I wanted to watch this. And it's like it's the South African film isn't like something I'm super familiar with, right? Like District 9 is pretty much
that was my favorite movie of that year when it came out, and like Blumkamp got put on the map like huge for me, and I followed him, and Chappie was amazing. Like I love and then he went online and started like his own production company too, just making like insanely like self-produced, like the best sci-fi in the world is still being produced by him, man. Like he gets sci-fi on a different level.
I did not.
Didn't he do Prometheus?
Things like he did Elysium with Matt Damon, which I
thought it was fun.
It was okay.
But I understand. I totally understand every downfall that movie had. I'm a huge fanboy now of like the filmmaker because of the come up story, the DIY aspect.
Oh yeah.
Like I follow those type of filmmakers like they're my heroes, right?
Yeah. I get so disappointed, especially with horror directors, when like, I'm not disappointed, but like, when you knock your first movie out of the park, like you just kill it, and it's like, oh my god, I can't wait for it. And then
like
and then the next
Oscar-worthy movie, District 9 for like, storytelling for visual effects. Like the time it came out, it was just fucking blowing everything out of the water in terms of like just the look of sci-fi too. Like it brought it down to a gritty new visceral level. I wanted to go check out South Africa because of that movie.
Yeah. Oh, it's funny. So I was talking about I'm going on and doing the Alien Predator ranking with those guys. So science fiction horror is some of my favorite. It's like 3 of my favorite movies of all time. I kid you not. Are like, and like maybe 4. I'll say Alien, Aliens, Predator, and The Thing. Or like some of my favorite shit ever. And I think it's kind of my sweet spot because I grew up so into science fiction and horror. So like that stuff was kind of
main science fiction like franchise. That was it. Star Trek, Star Wars. Like what was the main thing that like made you like
Alien?
Was it Alien?
Alien. Yeah, dude. I started being addicted to Alien so young I can't even explain to you. Aliens is a movie that probably.
So was there any? I want to like. I'm really super interested in. I don't know. I was talking to my wife the other night because her and our kids and stuff. Like I put on Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. And like, to be honest, right after this movie, actually, I put this movie on, we watched it, and then right after I put on Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. That movie is scarier than this fucking movie we're reviewing right now. 100%. Like the visuals, like everything. And it scarred my wife when she was a kid. She fucking hated Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. She's like, I don't want us to show that to our kids. And I'm like, of course I'm going to show it. It's a freaking Disney movie. It was my favorite movie when I was a kid. And I'm like, thinking about like the stuff, she's like, it was terrifying. And I was like, I think horror and stuff, especially for kids, like that introduction into horror, that's why I love horror now. Like, it's because of that accessible horror that I love to bring up. Like, it's not a bad thing for a kid to like horror and horror movies and kids horror. That's why Goosebumps books exist. That's like, come on. I'm not stunting my kids from horror. I'm going to show them, and if they don't like it, cool, they don't like it. I'm not going to force it on them either. Like, I don't know. I don't want to I want there to be more of what I had in the 80s and 90s available to me for accessible horror. There's nothing for kids right now, and I want to change that.
It's so funny because we've had things like over the last 20 years, I think of like, you remember Monster House, the animated movie that came out, and it like, I don't think I think it was DreamWorks or like one of the other ones that like the people that do Shrek and stuff. They put that movie out and it got real good critical reviews, but then like kids are going in and being terrified of it, and like think of again another two movies from my childhood that are real, influential on me, like Temple of Doom. And Gremlins are the two movies that made PG-13 happen. And Gremlins is horrifying if you've never seen it, and is.
But I was contemplating showing that to my kids too. But like that's that one I still remember being. But everything back then was influencing the next thing as well. So like horror movies were killing it, puppets and practical effects and all that stuff was killing it, and in the 80s, horror was on top of everything. Like, it was just making the most money. And, like, so everything was, I don't know, man. Everything in the 80s was so much grittier and scarier. And it holds up, man. Like, those practical effects. Like, a lot of, I was like, it depends. Like, we'll watch Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, and we'll see. And, like, the sequences of how they made it work, it's all practical. And it still looks fucking good. I'm like, geez, man. Like, the 80s, come on. It's good shit.
It's. I mean, we're completely off the rails again, but it's fine. It's, I was listening again. I was listening to
we're
Dead
like
in
24
Santa Carla.
minutes in. Who gives a shit?
I know, it's fine. They were talking about vampire movies. Like they were doing a ranking episode for vampire movies, and one of the guys on the episode said his favorite vampire movie of all time was Underworld, and I go, that's a kind of casual vampire movie. But then they were talking about it, and he goes, man, that movie is tons of fun. Like it is.
Oh yeah.
It is a popcorn like.
Yeah, but that also put
Fast and Furious.
What's her name on the map too?
Kate Beckinsale.
Kate Beckinsale. But she's like a smoke show and a half. But like that was the movie that put her on the map too, right?
I wasn't even thinking about it, but Andy and Brian were pointing it out. That movie has all the werewolves are practical effects. Nice. So it's that thing in my head where I go, oh, thank God. It's that.
I forgot about
why
that.
we love Psycho.
I forgot about that whole franchise, to be honest. And I've seen like every movie in it too. And that's like, yeah, that was like the franchises of the 2000s. It was like a weird, like, yeah, the stuff looked good, but you couldn't take like the characters or the universe like seriously. It was like almost like a joke or something. Like not even.
It was Fast and Furious, but like with a horror element. It's that kind of thing where it's like
felt like
you can't.
Yeah,
it's
no consequences.
It's not. Yeah, well, it's the same thing. Like, dude, but sometimes that's okay, man. It's okay to just be goofy shit that isn't necessarily like
A24.
I don't need to watch Hereditary
and stuff are taking over now. Like the lower budget look on purpose. If you can like get that, and then it's like, oh, that's the A24 look. But hey, whatever. If you can do it, and it's a packaged like Instagram almost like packaging to a film. It's like, oh, if you understand how to create your film in this look and feel, then it can be an A24 film kind of now, right?
Yeah.
It's got that but they understand what types of films to pick up too. Like they're picking up those style of films on purpose because that's their brand now. But everyone loves it, and A24 has become like way bigger than I ever thought.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, it's funny because A24 is that thing. They're the kind of company that is now like, it was Blumhouse and it was like stuff Blumhouse before that.
Though. That whole model is amazing to me.
But they've been doing it for a while, and they've been putting out. I mean, over the last 5 years, critically acclaimed horror is A24.
Dude, I have
Lighthouse.
Black Phillip on my arm. Like, I am obsessed with A24 films.
Black Phillip is awesome. I mean, his
well, when they said in this movie, grab the goat, I was like, oh yeah. Like anytime a goat is in a movie, it's gonna be. I wish it was a little gnarlier, but it's still like it. It was tasteful. This movie, like, it was a tasteful, very, very tasteful movie. Like I love the use of moths. Like a lot of the artistic,
so pretty
artistic choices in this movie were amazing, and I can't wait to do an alternate poster for this to utilize the moth in a way that I feel should have been on the poster, because the moth is such a beautiful thing. Like, there's nothing in their art for a moth. Like, I loved the moth part. Like, that was because it's the delicateness of the story and stuff. And I don't know, like, that's where the overly artistic stuff shone through for me.
You know what? I've been thinking about this, and it's funny because we're recording this on February 10th, so there's a lot of I kind of picked this also because of Black History Month, but like, there's also like the movie. It kind of reminds me, the more I think about it, it kind of reminds me of Candyman.
Really?
In the main, Lazarus does, because he's this guy who has something really horrible. I mean, he's had this series of horrible things happen to him, and it's
for sure
turned him into something that he wasn't before, right? Like, contextually, I feel like that movie, which I love Candyman. Candyman I didn't see till like the last couple of years, and that movie is so well done, and it's a haunting slasher movie. That's and Tony Todd is...
That's like one of the first horror toys I ever bought, was a Candyman toy. I don't know. Like, I loved that movie. I saw it super young too, but I think my friend...
It's like...
I don't know. Never mind. I think he's very scared of bees, but I don't think it had anything to do with that movie.
You know, he got Tony Todd got paid $1,000 per bee sting in that movie, and he got like stung like 32 times or 29 times or something. Oh. So he made like $30,000 like getting bee stung
as a bonus. So,
yeah,
honestly, I would put something in my contract too, man. You would have to, like, because it's got to be worth at least $1,000 if you're at that and you're putting yourself out there like that. That's got to be a hard thing to do.
Well, dude. It's funny because Candyman is that, it's kind of that urban legend kind of base background of how they tell the story, right? It's this urban legend, and this story is like, using these fairy tales,
like Silence of the Lambsy style, with like following the. Isn't it? I don't know. I'm like,
I mean, it follows the woman who's getting turned and kind of like the reincarnation of Candyman's love, right? And she's the one who's like writing her graduate paper about this, about the slums of Chicago and what happens and why the violence occurs in these things. And this, it's in The Soul Collector, you're hearing these stories. Like the child is Sarah's the little girl, right? And then Mary's the whatever.
Have you seen the trailer for the new one?
The new Candyman? Yeah.
It's weird.
It's it's the main if you remember the baby from the original Candyman that he kidnaps,
Okay.
it is that kid grown up and turning into the new Candyman. And I don't like what premise will be after that and why it's like that, but
see, it's interesting to me, like I understand the need for this character to be shown to a new generation. And it's really cool for me to see just another Jordan Peele produced trailer, like a movie for some under his control. Just like everything that he's putting out or it has his hand in, it just looks so polished. Like he is bringing this like next level attention to just the look and feel and how precise it's like. It reminds me of like why every Fincher movie essentially, like that style of like every shot is locked off unless it's like the movement is justified. He has like 99% of his shots locked off. Like Jordan Peele movies, it's like I feel like everything is on like that insanely expensive crane or something for every shot, you know, just because that's part of his package now. That look and feel, it's like expensive horror, which is cool because it's like that doesn't exist, and now it does, and I love it.
Well, it's funny because
even though it's not
both
expensive,
like
it just looks expensive to me. I don't know.
Get Out and Us are both like Us obviously picks up the scale of what he's doing, like because Get Out is a very, very small movie, right? It's mostly in this country home in the surrounding area, right?
Jordan Peele's now horror career reminds me of like Whiplash and Into La La Land, you know, like he really wanted to make La La Land, but he knew he could make Whiplash, and it was the smaller layup film or to like showcase what he was capable of. And Get Out was just like Jordan Peele being like, you know what, I'm hilarious, but I love horror and people don't really know that, so I'm gonna do this film. And it was like the smaller, like no one really trusted him to be a horror, so he had to prove himself. And that's why that movie was so freaking good, because he was proving himself in that horror. Like I don't think he needed to. It's amazing, and I just love everything he's doing. But Us, it felt to me like an episode of the Twilight Zone, and then he was producing and making all those Twilight Zone stuff. I was like, this honestly could have fit in as like, if you shorten the length, it would have fit right into all those Twilight Zone episodes because of how just like out there the story was. I was like, this feels like a Twilight Zone, especially how it ended. And it was like, you're now leaving the Twilight Zone. But I still loved it.
It's funny because looking at the director of Soul Collector, he's got like this is his 5th credit, but the other 3, he's got 3 shorts and a TV movie. So this is his first feature length movie. So I'm impressed that a guy like this, like who's just done shorts, he's obviously got an eye for film, because this movie is shot like is a gorgeous shot movie. And it's funny because it takes it kind of has that like Texas Chainsaw kind of thing, where it's like this big, like huge house in the like surrounded by nothing, right? And like, and you're starting to go, well, what's bad? Like bad stuff's gonna start happening, and it does.
That
but
farm is perfect too. Like it's a beautiful setting. Like every shot, man. I want to go and visit. Like I already wanted to go and visit South Africa. Because of a few movies I've seen. I totally forget. Like, what was that? Didn't
District 9 and I don't know what else.
No, there was like a soccer movie. I don't remember.
Bend It Like Beckham? I don't know. I've never watched a soccer movie. I don't know.
But just every shot in this is is
Yeah.
beautiful.
Josh, we didn't do it, so you want to read the synopsis from?
An old man fated to collect souls for eternity seeks atonement after trading his daughter's soul to a voodoo. I want to know more about like
it's a demon.
But
it was like a demon.
I want to know more about like that. That's more interesting than the whole. I don't know. Like I like that he was like creeping into their lives and being like, and the more you learned, like when they go to the into town and the whole town is like so hostile and the farmer's like, what the fuck? Like, why do they hate me? I just moved in. He's just like, don't worry about them. You're like, oh my God, this guy's pretty fucked.
You know,
that's the first time you kind of realize like, he's not letting on.
Because, well, you know this guy's a problem because the opening scene in the movie, you're like,
first scene.
But you're like, huh? And then he comes out. This again, Lazarus is played by Shamano Sebe, and he does an awesome job in this movie. Like you were talking about earlier, like
he's freaking amazing.
Him and the little girl are just both they play off of each other so well, and
killed it.
Yeah.
The two of them were so freaking good.
And I liked Mary, the mother, the not even the mother. She's an aunt. So Sarah's. There's a thing when we spoiled this that I had theories, but
I want to really talk to you about a few things because there's a few things that I was kind of like I had questions, a little more questions, like
exactly,
too many questions I think, like, but that's also. Again, that's why I want to talk about it because leaving a movie with questions, it's either going to piss you off completely, but because of the artistic like strokes the movie took, even like very purposefully towards the end, it almost forgives a lot of the stuff that you're like had questions about because of the artistic wish like whooshy ending.
Well, it's the whole like. You're sitting there and
it pays off good.
You're set up for something. Yeah. And it just works. I basically say if you're into not straight coming at you, like this isn't Jason Voorhees swinging at you with a knife. Like again, I think Pan's Labyrinth is a kind of decent comparison of what a fantasy kind of like out there kind of like not horrifying but just a creepy mood throughout and just a cool story being told in a different country, right? So I think that has a lot to do with like what I think is cool with it. It's that you're seeing this, what is horrifying to them, what is horrifying to South Africans, and what kind of which is a country that's been through a whole lot of shit, right? And so I was entertained as shit. Again, pacing wasn't perfect throughout this movie. I can't.
Again, if it was tightened up, and not even that much, man. Like weird.
Yeah.
Like almost only like 10 minutes of the movie was like the weird pacing issues.
Yeah.
And it was just literally scenes that didn't need to be there. That I was like, that scene was in the movie for no reason. There was no reason for that. Like so. It's and it was just like weird stumbly points that. It wasn't adding to the character or to the story, or it was just like, and then it faded to black, and I was like, what? It didn't even go to the next day. Why did it fade to black there? Like, but then it did it again and again and again, and I was like, why does it keep fucking fading to black? Like, what the hell, man? Like, the movie's not over, and it's not.
I think
a passage of time. It was just fade to black for no reason. I was like, what's happening?
I think that looking at the director's thing, doing a bunch of shorts, I think this is a first-time director kind of like maybe going to a technique that he thought would work that it isn't as efficient as he wanted it to be. It wasn't I think it took away a little bit, but
there was times that it definitely fit. And I was like, okay, well, that's where you definitely put the fade to black. But then there was like 2 or 3 more like right after, and I was like, what the heck, man?
Yeah. So if you have, I mean, we talk about Shudder every time we talk about movies that are on Shudder. It's positive. It seems like Shudder does such a wonderful job of curating.
Isn't there a new like thing coming out, like Astro or something like that, or Atlas, or I don't know. There's like a new horror competitor like dropping soon.
Oh no, I hadn't heard about that, but I am completely into anything that's giving us more horror.
No shit, right?
Yeah. So go watch this movie if you're into like that not straight edge. Like it's not American like cookie cutter Hollywood horror. This is again. Josh said it. It's not like scary, but it is
Arrow. That's what it is. Arrow player.
Arrow. Okay. This movie is atmosphere, man. It is.
I love.
And literally, there are
like on the poster, you see the figure 8, and when that happens in the movie, it looks so fucking cool. And all the visuals with their painted face and like this, the chant circle and the flame and like it all looks so good, like so good. Like the production value is all there, and like it makes it look a lot more expensive than it probably was, just because it all looks so good.
This movie couldn't have had a huge budget because there's not all that much. It's mostly 3 actors, and then they pull in this little village of actors that come in, and who all of them do a really good job too. Like the older like wise member of the village, I loved him. He was a sassy motherfucker.
He was the best. What was that touch at the end? That's his influence. Like he has his like voodoo touch influence or something.
I don't know, man. I really don't.
Because the farmer was like, at the end, he was like, "Oh man, this is crazy. Like, all right, everyone, like, you can go now. Like, get the hell out of here. And I never want to see you type again around here, because that was just too crazy." And then it gets touched on the shoulder. He's like, "Man, with your guys' help, this place could be amazing." It's like, holy crap.
He's like, well, yeah. I think it might have been just a calming touch, because the farmer, when his father dies, and that's why they're there, so they inherit this place, and he wanted originally to work with all these people. Like that was his thing. He talks about it earlier on. Okay. Maybe it was just a calming touch. Maybe, I don't know. So go watch this. We're gonna spoil the shit out of it now. So if you're interested in what we're talking about, definitely go check it out. So this movie opens up with it's pretty fucking creepy. It's the old man dying, and you see this figure standing over his bed and just doing like Tai Chi or some shit. He's like moving his chakra out of his body.
It actually kind of,
they don't.
The like keeping her in the trailer. It reminded me of what was that movie? I think it was like a Lucky McKee movie, like Woman or something, where they like have you seen that? I don't know. That's
I think I know what you're talking about, and I think you know that the very like the feral woman, like the feral lady who has like those like black teeth and everything like that.
And they're like keeping her in a barn and stuff as like a pet almost. Yeah, like that movie is messed up.
I haven't seen it, but I know of it and know of kind of what it was.
That was like, I don't know, like the like, well, not like that. I don't know. I don't even know what the fuck I'm talking about. I'm just interrupting you and like totally not even on the rails. Keep going, man.
I love you, Josh. It's okay. So I really, really, really love this scene because it's showing this like setup of what this guy's doing, and he's got this. It's another very like he looks good and he looks creepy as a silhouette for like this like intimidating figure with his like longer coat and his hat. And then you walk. They don't show what happens, but then they like in the Lazarus walks out. And then they zoom back in, and this is what I was talking about earlier with the CG. Like he's like his eyes are like sucked into his head incredibly far, and you're sitting there going, "What? that looked like something out of Supernatural, and I'm like, I don't know why that looked like that, but
that's the only
you
time
see
in the
this
movie
guy.
too. Like it was never
Yep.
used again.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Like I liked the face thing. Like it was almost reminiscent of like The Ring mixed with some other paranormally looking stuff.
Yeah.
Like I appreciated it for the pan and the exit of that first scene. They never used it again though. So I was kind of confused by that. I thought everyone was going to have that face after, like, it was the devastation of how intense it was to get their soul sucked out of their body. But then they switched it to just the moth after, which it was more beautiful and like then they could do it practically, right? So
there's this reoccurring theme throughout this entire movie where it's very like transitioning from life to death, and like that's what, like, there's moss and like the caterpillars, and it's transitioning from one thing to another, like being alive, being dead, and it seems like a lot of that is the capability of how we handle that transition, not only for ourselves but like our loved ones, right?
But then visually to show the other, or the in-between, or the other realm the way they did, kind of like Bill and Ted style with like the I fucking loved it, man. That was like just visually so well done. They could have just went right, like turn the camera right and they were there type thing, but you change it like that, and like it was, I don't know, it was so perfect. The way it was framed in that, like when he mimicked the like shape of the cave and stuff, like artistic choices were so amazing in this movie.
Well, that scene was the final like nail in the coffin, and we're talking about the very end of the movie.
I flop all over the place.
No, you're fine. It's that final nail in the coffin of selling this character as someone who's done something real bad, like a series of shitty things, but
you still like him, and he's still
but you didn't want to, right? It's this he got taken advantage. Yeah, he got taken advantage of when he was in this ultimate state of grief, and what happened, like this force took advantage of him.
So every time he is doing it, it's not because he wants to. He's just he's amending the contract that he signed, essentially. And the demon
that's the
keeps coming back and going more.
Yeah. And it's that thing where you sit there and you're going, I don't think that's his daughter at all, but it's in her body. And so he's like, okay. But so we go into the opening of The Shining at this point, where
creepy scream she has too.
Like
that was
well, dude, and what I really liked, it kind of reminded me of Thirst, right? Like it was like the further she got away from souls, the more demonic looking she got. Like, you know, she looked mostly like a little girl through a lot of the movie, but when you saw her,
the prosthetics they did to her face, like I liked the bumps and the like almost like spiny things that were.
Well, that was her burns from how she died. It was that which was cool.
It looked really cool, and
the character wasn't ever seen very well. I mean, you see her a couple times,
the shadows, it looks so much creepier anyways. Again, like the less you see of something, like with Insidious, that one jump scare where you just see
it's behind it, behind them.
To me, like top 5 shots in horror for a scare, like a visual scare, because it's on and off. But then as the movie progresses and you see the monster more, he gets less scary, because you see the things in between scares that aren't scary, and then it's like you see the glue again. And if you're not wanting or meaning to see the glue, I guess I just like calling it glue, because it's like the things that holds the horror together. And as soon as that glue is seen, it's like, fuck off. I don't want to see that. It was so much more effective before. Again, the signs thing and everything. Like, Insidious is amazing, and I love that whole universe, but less is more.
Yeah. We talk about it all the time, and I think that's the reason you and I both love independent and horror. And this is, again, it's a foreign movie. It's a South African movie, but it's got that. You can tell. I mean,
just because you have money to make a movie and you can do anything doesn't mean a movie has to do all of the expensive bullshit like it too did. It didn't need to do that. Yeah. It could have had the same budget as the first one and a little more time to create it, maybe, and then you get hopefully something as good as the first one again. Like, come on, I don't know.
This movie does, like, literally with makeup and like some contacts and music, it sells creepy. Again, just a vibe that it maintains itself through most of this movie, right? Like, as soon as like you get to this house, like they start the family's coming down the road. I called it the Shining opening because they're like, they got a drone following this car, and at some point they stop at this cross.
Totally reminiscent of The Shining, 100% too. That's the first thing that went to my mind. I was like, I wonder how many other horror movies they're going to like tip their hat to, because this is like full on. We love The Shining. We're putting it in our movie.
Yep. And well, they're going down this road, and it's not in the mountains or anything, but they stop on the side of the road at this cross, and it's where people die in accidents, right? And I'm like, well, I wonder. And you find out real fast, not real fast, but you find out fairly early in the movie that was her parents, Sarah's parents, and they died in this accident. That she was in the car with them, and she watched them both die. So you have to go, what the fuck happened? That this girl was out probably in the back seat, and her parents was garbage day. And
it just, that will always be, if that's the storyline, it automatically goes to silent.
Garbage
day.
And garbage day. And so you basically start figuring out that they're going to the house from the opening where the old man got killed. You figure out it was the husband, William's dad owned this place. And their plans are to fix it up and sell it. Initially, that's their plans, right? And
she's pretty
Sarah, the wife,
on him, like at the get-go. Like, they move in and she's like, "You're not pulling your weight." Like, get everything working. Yeah. What are you doing? You're not yelling enough at people. He's like having a pleasant breakfast with his daughter, just smiling, and she's like, "Buh." And then the daughter's just like, I'm going to go outside too. Bye.
They get to this house, and it's like, this house seems massive. Like, they do a real good job of scaling making this house.
But on the poster, isn't it just like a tiny shed? Or no, that's the shed.
That's the shed. Yeah. And they set the atmosphere right away. They're trying to, again, this is 1977. They're trying to get the generator, because it's the middle of fucking nowhere. So they're trying to get the power on.
That's the scariest part of this movie, is how far away they are from anyone. Like, what was that movie with Amy Adams where they like get kidnapped in the middle of like Texas? Like, there's just nowhere, and like that movie and that like storyline where they're out in the middle of nowhere, weird car pulls them over, and then the wife and daughter get kidnapped, and then the husband is just left there. That is the scariest storyline I've ever heard of in my life. Like, seriously, that movie made me feel not okay. Like, literally just not okay at all. What was it called? I need to look it up.
I don't know what you're talking about, but what you're describing reminds me of Wolf Creek, which is another movie. I don't know if you've ever seen Wolf Creek. These American tourists in Australia, and they're in the middle of nowhere visiting some site, and this guy,
Nocturnal
their
Animals,
car has trouble.
Nocturnal Animals.
What is it?
Nocturnal Animals.
Yeah, I don't know that one. And he basically kidnaps these people in the middle of Australia where there's no one around and torture kills a bunch of them.
I think I've heard of that one. What was it?
Yeah,
what did you call it? Wolf
it's
Creek?
pretty. Yeah, Wolf Creek, which has become a TV show or something. Yeah. But
that was a long time ago, 2005, right?
Yeah. So this all transitions into the family all sleeping in the dining room or the living room with the fireplace because they can't get the lights on. The next day they're trying to get stuff going, and Lazarus shows up.
He's their saving grace. He's like, your generator just had like a little bit of dirt in it. Just cleaned it out, and look at that, it's working, man. Can I come work for you?
Yeah, and then William's like, I love this motherfucker. I need him working here, and he basically
I just threw a wrench at this thing for like 2 days straight, and it didn't work, and I couldn't figure it out, man.
The best part about that is at some point later in the movie, the wife is like, what are you going to do, Mr. Taxman? So he's a fucking accountant, and he's like trying to fix all this shit, and like he's
not doing a good job.
He's not doing a very good job at all. And Lazarus is like, he tells him he worked for his father. Yeah, he did. And he also murdered his father, but that's besides the point. I bet you, because as you learn from this movie later on, it probably the same kind of situation. He was kind of forced to do it.
Yeah.
He probably didn't want to, and it seems
Every
like
bad
when the
choice
daughter
he makes in this movie, you feel for him. Like,
Yep.
you feel bad for him that he had to do. Like, it's such a different, again, artistic, like, it's like this really, what did I use? The word I used for this.
Tragic? I think tragic's a good word. Like, it's,
tragic.
yeah, it's, when you have you have like villains that are that like relatable thing in horror movies. It makes it feel so much more like horror villains can do a couple things. Like they could just be like unstoppable, cool killing machines, like Freddy Krueger or Jason Voorhees, like that kind of thing.
But slasher,
this is like someone.
That's what I consider instantly. That's horror to me. Like slasher
Yeah.
horror. You know, like that's a horror movie,
Yeah.
or like
Yeah.
something that has a lot of blood or something. The horror, you know.
Yeah.
But this has.
It's
more.
Yeah.
It's the classy take.
Yeah. So it's funny because like William like invites Lazarus to live in their little shack and like help out, and at this point him and the little girl start becoming like best friends. Like it's actually it's kind of this thing where you go, this little girl's obviously, you figure out at some point that it's his daughter died, and this little girl's kind of like, you see why he's good with her, because he had his own little daughter, and his daughter, his wife had died when they were giving birth to the daughter.
Super tragic story. Like the storytelling in this and the characters are amazing, and I love those things about if those minor, well, not even minor, but like the holes that the movie had that made it like it takes you out of the movie, and that's never a good thing, and then you see through it, and that sucks because the acting from these people are so good, and I wish those holes weren't in the movie, because I want see, that's what sucks, because you always want the best for everything you see.
Especially when you're having like you're into it, like right.
If
it's not
if it
like
was like completely bad, then but I feel bad that this movie even had those holes, because it could have been so perfect,
a classic, and
for voodoo
we both
too. Like all the stuff they chose from the voodoo collection was so cool, man. Like, what else can you like? Again, there's a few things like I haven't seen very many voodoo films or anything like that, but a lot of the stuff that I know of voodoo is from like Disney movies and stuff. Like, what? I think of things like Skeleton Key. I think of like, it's just like stuff that's like, there's not a lot of it. I think of, I mean, Hatchet even kind of has the voodoo element to it, but like it's not really. It's more of a ghost story as a slasher movie. But
that the New Orleans thing is kind of the
New Orleans
where you get the
movies,
voodoo kind of.
yeah, that's where I always go. Like the voodoo stuff is
Yeah.
always New Orleans and stuff.
Yeah.
Princess and the Frog.
Yeah. Well, it's cool watching this kind of stuff just because of the fact that you're getting this culture's view on horror, right? And you're getting what they find horrifying, and it's cool to look into that because, man, you start getting a culture telling you their biggest fears. You get a real in-depth look into them real quickly, right? And this is the kind of movie that you're going, well, it's you and I know about all the conflict and between the people who are there and the British and whoever, and all this stuff is happening, and you go, what kind of subcontext is, because the family's white, the villagers are all black, and and Lazarus is black. So obviously the British occupiers, and then the villagers who are like getting. So you have to wonder how much of that kind of stuff is like seeping into the horror elements of it, and what is their fears from all this stuff, right? And so it's interesting seeing that and thinking about it, because I don't even know, because I tried to think about that while I was watching this movie, but that's I don't
why
know enough of
the scene where they go into town is such a like pivotal scene of the movie, where you learn so much about everyone in the surrounding area. They're like, we're gonna let you do your voodoo to this guy because we're all fucking terrified of you, because we know you're just going around sucking souls out of people, and we don't want to be next. So whatever you got going, whatever crazy game you got going over this guy, go have fun. Just don't bother us.
Just
please.
leave us alone.
And that's a big thing to like learn and know about. Just everyone around, they all hate him. They're all terrified of him, but they're gonna let him do their thing because, like, what else can they do, right?
Well, and the one dude antagonizes him, and it actually sets the down. Yeah, it sets the downfall. It sets the downfall, but it also sets the confrontation of the movie. It sets up how everything eventually comes to an end, because
it's the pivoting conflict. And but then he comes out and kills his mom, like gangster move, like crazy. He's just like, you're gonna fuck with me, I'm gonna kill your mom. I'm like, holy crap, man. He goes straight for the judge. That's crazy.
Well, dude, that scene it's one of the scenes where it's like Lazarus like has this real like, he never, like, most of the movie he's got this real gentle aesthetic. Like, he's very like fatherly. He's very like helpful. He's this guy who isn't
trusting, like, but that milky voice, right?
Yeah, but then he turns on. He gets pissed at that kid in that scene, and he's like, "Don't you bring your shit to me?" And he's like, "You better sleep with your eyes open," because he comes back that night and takes his mother's soul. And it's the same thing you kind of see at the beginning, but you see more in depth into it, and you see
his
like
acting is so good. Like, he had levels.
They get frozen, and then he's like doing the tai chi all over their bodies, and you kind of see like their essence coming out a little bit,
of steam or something.
Yeah, like mist or
that was cool, and that was probably CGI, but like it was a super subtle. You had to like see it. Like, or really focus on it, and that's cool. Yeah, because then again, it was the artistic things. The visuals they chose to show, or I guess had the budget to show. Tasteful, man. All tasteful.
I always think CG is best to accent things, not to overtake things. And this is where you're talking about. So, like, when this whole ceremony gets done, their soul comes out, but the soul's now a moth. And this is where you see, like, he had set his bag down in the corner, and this is like, I think this is the first time the daughter really comes out of the bag, but you don't see her very well in this scene. But she, like, he pulls the moth out and puts it in his hand, and like she comes over and grabs it and like munches down on this soul. And it's cool though, because the little girl during the entire movie is keeping caterpillars, but they're moth caterpillars. And it's like this, like, it's this cool like thing that this little girl is doing this while the souls are. I feel like if you watch this again, there are
Yeah, like
subtext for this movie
all those
that you didn't
artistic
get the first time.
choices that.
Yeah.
And again, that's what I wish those holes weren't in it, because there's so many artistic choices that were so profound to me in this movie, and like that. Really, I'm taking notice of those things because they are. You don't see that attention to detail for like artistic choices like that. I don't know, man. Like it was all the way thought through, and it had meaning. Like yeah.
So I think I want to go talk about like the thing that's kind of happening in this time frame. So the Lazarus and the little girl are becoming friends, and he gives her a jar with 2 moths in it. Now,
okay, yeah,
are those her parents' souls? Right? They have to be, because he talks about chasing them. He talks about chasing him down on the highway or something like that, or chasing him down or something like that. Like,
really? Oh, okay.
I'm not saying it is, but he talks about he had to chase him long and hard or something like that. And it's like, I go, but why didn't he feed him to his daughter? And then like, why is he giving them to her? And there's 2 of them, just like her 2 parents. And I'm like, it was the thing that I was thinking about, like, after the little girl was given them, because they're the same kind of moss that he's pulling out of the mouth, right? Like they're the same kind of soul moss. Like,
so he made them die on the road. Okay.
I don't think he did. I think he just found their souls wandering or something like that. Like they were.
Yeah. See, I didn't even get that as like a context. The thing that I was confused about at the end was I don't know, like, because he says you'll never see your parents again, or you can go back to Earth. So obviously he sent her, and now the magic baby is her. But where's so she was choosing to be dead, I guess, and see her parents again.
It was no. She chose to go back to Earth. It was just her.
But that was the other choice.
Yeah. Okay. To be dead with her parents. Yep. It was that transition. It was where the 2 circles touch, which is the whole the infinity sign, all that stuff, right? Yeah. That's where they were.
And then it transfers to the mom, because she eats a moth at the end, and that's where I was confused. I was like, so is she now him? Because he's dead? Like, how did that get transferred to her, and why? It was confusing.
So what I think happened is, we'll get to it, but like, I think she hears the voice, and I think she accepts, and instead of okay. Do you need a minute, or do you want to finish?
Yeah. And then...
Okay. So basically what happens is that the village, they were like up in arms because the lady died, the grandma died, and they know what happened because he did it the same night.
He was not. That's why I said that. Like, that was a very intentional move by him to be like, boom, don't fuck with me. Like, it was
exactly
super, like, something out of like Breaking Bad.
Yeah. And it all drives to like the point where they're gonna do something, and the son of the lady wanted to do it immediately, and the old man's like, no, you have to do it at the right time. And the kid goes and tries to steal the bag from him, and ends up like, he steals the bag, but the Lazarus chases him into the woods, and ends up like stabbing him because he's coming after him. And it's like, this is where you start seeing Lazarus is breaking down from all this death and all the things he has to do, because what his daughter is now, who's in the bag, right, is making him do it. And it's this deal he signed with the devil, or the demon.
Again,
and the demon,
adding to your just already like feels for this character, and then you just the feels just keep getting more and more. Like, you by the end of this movie, if you don't love this character, there's probably something wrong with you.
Yeah. Well, it's the thing. It's like, it's that it's such a well developed like character where there's bads and goods, and you see what this guy went through and how he got preyed on by this demon at his darkest moment, right? And so the like second half of the movie, the daughter starts demanding she wants to eat the little girl, and so it's between like that's like this upcoming event, and then the village is planning on dealing with him, so that's the other thing, and it's like when are they going to happen, and it's kind of also like the whole two worlds colliding, the circles, which is at some point the Lazarus is fixing this like water pump, and he's kind of explaining to William what he is and how he's kind of a healer for his people. And the spot that this house is on, this farm is on, is this, they believe it's a power place because it's where the living can contact the dead. And so it's why this guy is drawn here, because of that connection. And it must be easier for the demon to get in or whatever, because the demon gets in at this point, gets in at this like point of the world.
That's what I loved about the visuals of the figure eight and everything. It all had a lot of meaning and why this was all happening. Like the visuals all like added to the story and actually had meaning and looked good too. Yep. So like, I wish. Yeah,
and there's a lot of cool.
Yeah. Again, I just wish those holes weren't in the movie, man. I love so much about this movie. If the holes weren't there, it would knocked out.
There's some really creepy scenes in these transition, because the daughter starts like, the spirit of her starts coming into the house, and she like waterboards the shit out of the wife and is like pulling this, like trying to drown her, but it's not.
Movie,
yeah, definitely.
Like,
and you're sitting there going,
how,
"Oh fuck!"
The wife is like, "You gotta believe me. This guy is such a bad guy." He's like, "Okay, I'll go and talk to him." And he's like, "He cut his fucking hand. Come on!" And goes. He's like, "I'm gonna go get some gas." Jesus, you're so dumb. And she goes down to gets like instantly like the sheer just like no fucks given that this he literally is the devil walking around. He can do whatever he wants, so he's just like, yeah, get in here. Like instantly. It was great.
She's like, he has to be out, and William fires him, but like he's like, oh, but
yeah, you can stay there.
You can stay here tonight.
And here's a bonus,
she's like, fuck that.
Here's my.
She's like, fuck that, and she goes into like kick him out, and sees the daughter like scuttering around the little shack, like out of her bag, and you sit there and you go, oh no.
That's the scene that reminded me of The Woman, because the woman like she thinks she's an animal, so she's crawling around on all fours, and there's a scene where they open the barn and she crawls across the opening, and that's what you see in this. As the door's closing, she's like chasing her on all fours, and it looks really like, it's like very animalistic and creepy.
Yeah, it's like very like a spider or like with some kind of weird non-mammal predator kind of thing. It's not like a thing you expect from a mammal predator.
Yeah.
And they basically lock up the wife, and they go. Lazarus goes back to the house, and he gets the little girl, and he's like, "Oh, I want to show you something." And she's like, "Where are my aunt and uncle?" "Oh, they went to get gas." And he takes the little girl into the woods, and at this point, William comes back, and he's like, "Where is it?" Like he finds the villagers, like starting their ceremony, and he's like, "Where is?" He finds his wife, and she's dying, basically. I don't know if he stole her soul, because that's the thing that's like, it's, you start going, what did he do to her to make her like the way she was, right? But I don't think he did. But he goes in with the tracker, and they go to find the daughter, and this is where like you get this parallel like storytelling where the villagers are doing this ceremony, which is very voodoo, like you said, but it's like voodoo like mixed with a exorcism kind of thing.
Like there's some there was a I loved all the visuals and I loved all the stuff they chose, but I was kind of like, I don't know what this could be exactly what everything, but it was reminiscent of like Exorcists or stuff you've seen in like the ghosty style movies or something, right? Like they were possessions or something, right? So I guess voodoo and possession is very
shamans,
like close in what they were and stuff.
You see shaman kind of like anything with shamans, because shamans aren't something that are like usually told in like American horror because it's like shamans don't hold as much context, I think, here as they do.
I don't know. My
older
friend,
places of the world.
At a house party, he set up like a weird like fake tent and said he was a shaman and was giving out spirit animals to people. So that's the only, I don't know why he was doing this. He was just really drunk, but that's what I know of the word shaman, right? Like it's definitely
the weird buffalo guy who invaded the Capitol was also a shaman supposedly. So here we are with that. So they basically end up like pulling the wife in there, like one of the villagers is like just like rubbing her head the whole time while they're like they kill a goat, sacrifice a goat to this ceremony, and then they like make a giant 8 around the infinity sign, like the two worlds meeting, whatever, all this stuff, and the like with gasoline or something. And
how he lights it is so good too. He's just like, let's go.
Yeah. And as William's finding the little girl, the Lazarus has already gotten like given her some potion to like put her to sleep. Like he doesn't, like the other people he took the souls out of, they were aware of what was happening, and it seemed like there was this compassionate side of like he had to do this and he didn't want to, but he had to. He's like, I'm not gonna make her suffer. They were spiteful with the old lady, but he was trying to do this, and it's like you don't know exactly what happens, but with
the daughter, you like,
see
it's sad, man. Like he takes her out like camping, and it's a very like he has like love for this girl, like
it's like his daughter,
he's taking care of her. They're it's all very I don't know, like soft and it's sad, man. That's the like sad like part of it, and then when she asks like, why did you do this to me, like in the afterworld, you're just like, man, that's like, that sucks, right?
It's so they light the shaman and the villagers light the 8, the figure 8, the infinity sign, the meeting of the worlds, and Lazarus ends up catching on fire whatever distance away at this campfire. And
because he asked him to do that. He's like, the only way you'll ever be able to get rid of me is to burn it all. You got to burn it all. So this is he was taking the cue. I don't know why they chose right then to do it and not before, because he got told that a while before. So like you probably should have just did that day. Well, you gotta the kid who's get the figure 8 going, guys. We gotta burn this fucker. Like, let's go. Like, hurry up.
Well, the kid that he stabbed because of like the whole like the mother thing, his plan was to burn the bag. So like, it seems like that would have been a adequate strategy and probably would have killed Lazarus. But and then they cut all this to like the afterlife, like it's purgatory. Fade to black, purgatory. But it's got this. They're in this cool rock structure, and it's like everything's pink tinged, right? And so it's very.
Love it though. Like it looks. Bill and Ted's, like straight from.
It's a very ethereal look, right? It's like this.
It's just a hue saturation, like slider move here and there in post, but it's so effective, and they did it right. It looked amazing and otherworldly and perfect.
It's the thing where you have that effect of you know the second you look at it that this isn't like, we're not in Kansas anymore. No. This isn't like and this transitions into like him telling her and like kind of apologizing and like going, well, you have a choice now.
If they added that
You
weird
can go with
echo
your-
effect, it would have been exactly Bill and Ted.
Yeah.
Where are we?
And he basically tells her, he's like, you can either go with your parents, which is dying, or you can go back to the real world. And this is where they talk, and it's cute, and it's like you see the sorrow in this dude, even though he's dead now too. And the little girl ends up disappearing.
He probably has choices.
She's
Though.
obviously-
He could probably get re-demonized and go back up and fuck some other shit up or something. You don't know.
I think the demon's already got a new place to hang out.
Yeah, probably.
So during the whole fire sequences, this is when like the wife looks up to the sky and hears the voice that Lazarus heard when his daughter was dying or had died in a fire. And so you're sitting there going, oh, fuck. And you get this thing where...
Fuck. That's what I missed. That's the question
Yeah.
I had. Okay, so you're filling in that blank for me. I totally...
Yeah.
I have to like pause movies and go up and like
Yeah.
what I have to go do right after we end this show is go put my
Yeah.
daughter back to sleep. She sucks at sleeping
Yeah.
through the night, man.
Yeah, so that's the thing where you go, what the fuck is actually happening? Because at the end, the one of the story elements had been that the couple couldn't have kids, right? And so the Williams brother or sister or whatever, they die and they leave the daughter to them. And so they have this daughter now, but she died. She died during whatever he did to her. And I think he took her soul or whatever he did. But then you find out that she's pregnant. And
Yeah, she says a line in the movie where she does not feel good about herself because of it. She's like, I am a fucking useless thing. Like I have no use whatsoever because I can't give you babies. And she feels like nothing.
It's a line that is someone who's dealt with infertility and who still deals with it. It's a very real sentiment that is like it's not an easy thing to hear, but it's something it's a very real sentiment to what this does to people. And it is this like, it's a, why am I broken? Why am I this? And that's what it is with her. It's the why can't I?
And then you start to really understand the character and really feel like, she's not being listened to whatsoever. She's being fucked with like crazy, and she's the crazy. Dude, you're just crazy. Shut up. Stop being crazy.
Yeah, I hate. It's funny because even William is like, he's a shitty character most of the time, but you see what he's trying to do, and you see that his good side's a lot of the movie. But
so now actually the question is, yes, we know that the daughter chose to go back to Earth, but if she's turned into the demon thing, is the demon inside of her, or is it
I'm convinced that she's the demon, and now she's pregnant with the daughter.
Okay.
With the niece is what I took it as, because
that's what I thought
the closing
too. And that's what I want it to be, because the niece definitely chose to come back, and I like thinking that way. But it could be
they don't give it to you, and it's something you think about.
The artistic ending makes it so much better and makes everything else just work now. Because if you tried really hard to bookend this and like, you know, Hollywood ended or something, like it wouldn't work. Like you have to leave it with a little bit of unknown.
Yeah, the thing that confused Josh and I, and that doesn't tell you what happened at the very end of the movie. You weren't sure because the demon voice had happened, but you don't know anything because there's no context with her after that. And she's sitting in a rocking chair, obviously super pregnant, and you see her eat a moth.
Yeah, she like plays with it on her hand for a long time, looking at it. It's a nice, like weird, cool looking white one. I've never seen a moth look like that before.
Yep.
And then she brings it close up and then like creepily too. I'm like, ooh, that was cool.
Yeah, and you're sitting there, you're going, well, so we have the demon still hanging around. In either way, the demon's somewhere in that situation between the two, and you go, oh fuck, man. There's like round 2's coming with the daughter and that will be her daughter this time, and you go, oh man, it's super. It's one of those things where it's kind of a bleak ending, right? It's very like the thing where like you had these two characters and you go, one of them is an alien who's about to fuck shit up, and one of them's a guy just trying to survive, and they're about to both freeze to death. And this is like we have this demon that is gonna keep going around collecting souls and eating things, and we have this little girl who's come back to Earth and for round 2, and you go, man, it's bleak, but like there's still hope, which is a thing that's cool and yet terrifying, which is what it's the thing where it's like they want you to think about all of it and to like go, fuck, man, fuck, this little girl dealt with all this much and this wife dealt with all this much, and like how did they end up here, and how this demon is always in that perfect place right at the right time to take advantage of all these situations, right? And it's just like fuck.
Well, I always love when movies end and then it's on the sinister instead of it being like, I've always loved that type of stuff.
Yeah, and it's because of that moth. You go, it leaves you with all those questions, and it leaves you with fuck,
it's
man.
Like the Inception
this is
top
like
spin thing. It's like, oh wait, did it stop there or did it not stop there? Oh, I don't know.
you go. Oh, they're getting what they want. They're getting their baby. They're like, it's happy. You go, they're getting their baby. They're like back together, and they lost their niece, but like she's gonna come back, and they're gonna have their child, and they're gonna be able to do all this stuff, and they're gonna have the villagers helping them and farm, and then the moth gets eaten. You're like, oh no, normal people don't eat moths. No,
or
this is bad.
Or it's like the end of I don't know. There's this like what's his name? Sean William Scott movie, Bloodline, and he's like killing people the entire movie, and then the wife like finds out, and you think like, oh, she's gonna turn him in and blah blah blah, and then she accepts it, and now they're a murder family, and that's the like twist ending. You're like, oh, what the fuck? She's fucked up, right? But like it's like the ending that you weren't expecting, and then it's the movie's over now. Oh, so they're just like a murder cool. It was like, oh, I guess they're gonna continue on, but that movie probably isn't gonna get a sequel, right? But
I think horror can do that kind of stuff. It makes it really interesting, and it's that.
But that's what I again love about horror. Horror gets away with so much more, and it can
because of expectations.
You
right?
can have fun with horror more.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Like the Hollywood structure, the for like comedy and drama and blah blah blah. I don't know. It's not been turned on its head in a long time.
Yep. Okay, dude. Well, let's wrap up because you got to get out of here. What are we doing next week? You're up for whatever picking here. Is there something you're down for? I think I'm trying to get people to come on and do the show with us. I don't know when that's going to happen, so that may delay something if we end up having that. And so I'll let you know. But
I'm not going to say it on the show because I totally forget, and I had something that I wanted to watch. So I'll let you know, and we'll tweet about it.
Okay, cool. Okay, buddy. Well, you're Josh WRB everywhere. I'm Ryder_Johnson, basically everywhere. Our website is murdermoose.com. We have our give us a 5-star review on iTunes or wherever you listen if you'd like to. Tell us whatever. Email us at murdermoosepod is whatever it's on the website is our email address. But go email us if you want. And thank you for listening. We have a blast doing this. It's like one of the highlights of my week every week. So, Josh, I love you. Go take care of your little one, and we will see you guys next week. So,
bye.
Goodbye, everyone.